You need to set your priorities. Here's what I mean by that. I'm Elizabeth, and this is Homemaker-in-Progress, where I teach you simple tips for how to keep a clean home and how to make meals that are actually easy and quick. If you're a mom or a wife and you just feel overwhelmed by the things that you're trying to get done, you're trying to get the perfect meal, you're trying to keep the house clean, you're trying to take care of your family well and spend time with them and give them what they need as well, and it's just hard. You feel like you cannot do it all. This is what I recommend for you. Set your priorities, and then everything else you can decide how to get that done. The way that I think that this can be done is by setting your priorities. And then there's more to it, but that's really where it starts. So I'll talk about what that means later. But first off, set your priorities. What does that really mean? What you spend your time on tells you what you love. And I think most of us would probably agree that creating a home is not necessarily about the physical space so much as it is about the environment and the relationships that you create in the space. And so if we're going to say set your priorities, what I mean is what is most important to you in creating your home. And if that is going outside, if that is home cooked meals, or if that is keeping the house perfectly clean, there are different strategies to getting those things done to get to the goal of whatever your priority is. So I'm not going to tell you what your priority should be, but I will tell you some things that have helped me to get to a place where I don't feel so overwhelmed with homemaking. The priority should be the people in your life and not the things. And for me, after I became a mom, I think finding out that like I couldn't do everything, some way it's crazy because I think I already couldn't do everything, but then becoming a mom and suddenly physically not being able to do the things that I wanted to be able to do, it kind of like makes you think about things in a different way. So for me, like my daughter would want to take a nap on me, or maybe if she did take a nap in her crib, it would not be as long as it was that I'd hoped it for so that I could get a certain thing done. Reality of it is I could not get everything done. And perhaps in some ways I didn't have the motivation to get everything done. And I was overwhelmed by the stuff and the things. And I was in this place where I was overwhelmed and I saw something or heard something somewhere about just like having less stuff and how like if you felt overwhelmed as a mom, part of the reason could be that you had too many things. And that did really resonate with me. And that got me into like minimalism and decluttering. And kind of where I'm coming from is that my priority was peace. I wanted peace. And I wanted that in my home life. And so I thought that if I got rid of stuff, that would help me achieve peace. And that's not necessarily true. I think that there are benefits to it, but just whatever your goal is, you got to determine what's going to help you. So getting rid of stuff, I think was useful. Like, I do think that it helped me to recognize that I don't need everything. And so that I'm more careful about what do I bring into my home now, because I've already experienced what it means to have too much. So I've just like taken a step back from that. So that's helped me. And on top of that, it helps you to create routines. So laundry used to be like a once a week thing. And if it didn't get done, it was an absolute mess. Whereas now I can do laundry multiple times a week. And part of that is out of necessity, right? If I don't have the things that I need because they're dirty, then I have to wash them. So it's like keeping me up on this cycle. And some people will be like, well, why don't you just have more? I don't want to have more. I live in a small space. I don't have a lot of space. So I kind of have to be realistic about what I can keep. But on top of that, I don't want to own a bunch of things. And keeping up on the laundry means that it's not stuck to one day. And if I miss that day, then it's just chaos, regardless of how many things I have. So that's a useful tip, is to just be like, have less, create those routines so that you don't have to be stuck on one day. Now, for me personally, my priority in my home, there's probably a few, but one is home cooked meals. I'm very much in the mindset of I want my home cooked meal and I want it to be of good quality, that it's going to be good for my family. So because that's important to me, there are other things that I'm going to set aside. Cleaning, for example, is not as important to me as it might be to some of you. Now, yes, I still clean, but it is not as important. So when it comes to like vacuuming, like, okay, maybe once a day, maybe not even once a day. I'm not mopping even once a day, probably not even once a week. But the reality is that that's not a priority for me. So they still get done, maybe not super frequently. And for me, that's more important to have the time for the meals. Another priority for me is to be getting outside. Well, if I'm outside, then I can't be doing stuff inside. And so there's some things that you can do. Like you can start a load of laundry and then go outside. But if you're going outside and like you're not going to be home, that can make it a little bit more challenging. There are trade-offs. And I think that this is kind of one thing that maybe people have in their minds, that they can do it all and they can do it all well. So you might be able to do everything. But I would say that if you're doing everything, something is suffering somewhere. Um, so if you're like full on cleaning and cooking, spending time with your husband or your kids is probably not happening as well or as much as it could be if otherwise. And I'm not telling you what you should do per se. I'm just saying set your priorities, and then whatever your priority is, then create the environment to achieve that priority. And once you kind of let go of the mindset that you have to get everything done and just focus on the things that are most important, I think that's when you can actually achieve that peaceful home environment that you want. Because it's no longer about getting everything done. It's about doing the things that matter most to you, to your family, and leaving everything else on its own. So are there practical tips to get this done? Of course. And I'm going to tell you what works in my home. So laundry, for example, I already talked about this, but laundry is one of those things that I do more than one time a week, and I just do like one load. So I'll do one wash cycle and then one dryer cycle, and then it's done, and that's it. And I just combine all of our laundry. And I personally don't have enough of a preference on separating everything, so I just do it all in one big load. I wash me and my husband's and my daughter's clothes all in the same thing, and that works for me. That works for my family. It may not work for your family, but it works for me. Dishes in the kitchen are like probably my more like, not that it's non-negotiable, but it's just a bigger priority because that makes an impact on how I feel. If my kitchen looks like a total disaster, I'm just not in a good mood. So whatever that looks like for you, put the priority for that. In my case, because the kitchen is so important to me, like if it's a mess, I don't feel good about it. That means that I'm going to put more time into making sure my kitchen is cleaned. So I want to make sure the dishes are done every day. For me, I run the dishwasher every day, basically, regardless of whether it's full or not. But at the same time, like that has just helped me. I don't want dishes sitting in the sink. I want them to be washed. I want them to go through the dishwasher. I want them to get put away. For like keeping the house clean, I'm not ultra worried about that. I think a good goal would be to vacuum like once a day, just to pick up the things that happen. Make a mess, like you're going to be doing something specific in the kitchen that's going to be really messy. Maybe wait to do vacuuming until after that's done, so you only have to do it one time. But basically, just like not a cleaning schedule, but little routines and rhythms of things that have helped me. Bathroom cleaning or deep cleaning. I don't really do a lot of deep cleaning, but every once in a while I will, because I'm like, okay, that's kind of gross. I'm going to clean that. Now, it's just like because it's not a priority for me that I'm not doing it all the time. Doesn't mean that it never gets done. It's just that it's not as important to me. And I think that letting go of this perfect aesthetic, perfectly clean, always presentable is not as important to me. And that's why I think letting go of that has allowed me to just be more at ease. Like I can do the other things in my life that are important to me. And if those things, those other things that are not as important, like deep cleaning, if I have extra time and I want to do it, I'll do it. But I don't put a focus on that. When it comes to meals and getting them done quickly and still having like a good meal, something that's nutritious. The things that have helped me in that is to kind of do like bigger batches. I don't meal prep. I don't like meal prepping. So I don't do that. I don't do meal prepping. But I do kind of meal batch. I wouldn't really call it meal batching per se because it's not really the whole meal, but like I make a big batch of rice or I'll make a big batch of pasta or I make a whole chicken or a whole roast. And then I use those things over time in different meals in different ways. That way it's easy. So if I'm not having to cook meat every single night, I'm reducing the amount of time that I actually have to spend cooking because rice or pasta, potatoes maybe take a little bit longer, but some of these things are going to be cooking up pretty quickly. And if the meat's already cooked and I just have to heat it up with some spices, like that goes quick. Now, sometimes there are certain things that I want and those take a little bit longer. I don't do them all the time. And I think when it comes to meals, it's okay to not be like overboard. Now, I understand we like variety, we like change. I would say be boring and experiment every once in a while and be boring, but also like the same meal, but spice it differently. So it's not exactly the same meal, gives you a little bit of variety, a little bit of change, but it's still simple. And I have the time to spend more time cooking if I wanted to, but I choose not to. And that's for me how it works. I also don't use recipes because I don't want to. I don't like to have to pull up a list and say, okay, I need all these things and pull out the measurements. I just want to be able to like put my stuff down, season without measuring. I'm not going to pull out my measuring cups to do cooking. Like I just don't want to. And so I think it's more important to just learn what works well together, kind of get your taste buds, your flavoring, your family preferences down over following a specific recipe. I do use recipes occasionally. I will look stuff up to be like, hey, this sounds good. I don't really know what's usually involved in that, so I'm going to look that up. I'll look it up and then I just kind of go based on memory, so I'm not exactly getting everything. And another thing with recipes is sometimes it will call for like an ingredient that you don't typically keep on hand and you're only going to really use in that recipe. And it's just kind of like, to me, it's a little bit pointless to buy something that you're only going to use one time. I want to have the things I'm using on hand and make it work. So I personally think that it is better to just make the things that you have work and be content with what you have over going out and about to try to find 20 different ingredients to make this one recipe. That's my preference. And I'm saying it's okay if you're also like that. You don't have to feel the pressure from social media or online where these perfectly put together meals with all the different colors and ingredients and everything that you like. It's okay if your meal doesn't look aesthetic. Like you set the tone for what matters to you. And if it matters to you, then something else doesn't matter quite as much. And then you can determine what works for yourself.